Gentlemen, hello and welcome back again to the GESC South American Qualifiers. Taking a look at our second day of these qualifiers. It's SG versus Infamous. I'm Lyrical, joined as well by the wonderful Tsunami. Tsunami, how you doing, man?
I'm good. I was catching the tail end of what should have been the end of Captain's Draft, and so I'm not used to seeing this many bans happening in competitive Dota, but this is the way that the game was originally designed to be played, as enthralling as Captain's Draft has been, so I'm enjoying what I'm seeing so far, and I'm looking forward to seeing this Jakarta qualifier for the GESC Minor.
Yeah, man, Jakarta. It's a hell of a place. I've never been there before, but I hear it's very pretty. And I'm excited to see these two teams in particular. I casted these games yesterday. I just found out about them like very soon afterwards, and there was SG versus God. Who the heck was it? By the way, there's a first pick pudge. We'll talk about that in a second.
T-Show Rising, apparently.
Yeah, T-Show, and then Infamous played against Mad Kings. And both of these two teams just like destroyed them. The SG series is a little bit closer, I want to say, but I think that's also because T-Show might be a little bit stronger than Mad Kings. We'll find out later on today because that's our second series. But these are probably two of the best teams in South America right now, with Sacred probably being the other one up there. And I can't wait to see what they do. This is already a very different draft from what we saw yesterday.
10 seconds.
Yeah, given that South America's been in a peculiar spot in this major circuit. I'm definitely hearing that since they kind of are resigned to the fact that, okay, we may not make enough qualifier points because it's already, some time left into the season, but at least like 40% of the points or something around that area has already been claimed. And so some South American teams are considering the fact that, well, maybe at this point it's more important to pursue prize pools as opposed to pursuing major points, and just bank on being able to slug it through the qualifiers for TI as that being your path to Seattle or wherever TI might be this year. And so I wouldn't be surprised if these teams are actually playing each other more often than what we've been seeing in the tournament circuit, because they're probably like, these other prize pool providing online tournaments that aren't necessarily getting the same level of publicity as these pro circuit tournaments are.
Yeah, and I think, I don't know, I'm not sure if I completely like it. You talked about that. The big case that just came up recently was SG, this team right here, withdrew from the Star Ladder Minor. And the reason they did that, like you said, was because they wanted to play in the WESG South American Finals. So it's needing to play in qualifiers for multiple different tournaments simultaneously. And obviously they're going to go to whatever minors and majors they can. But the prize pool for WESG is quite significant. Not to mention that you also have just a prize pool that's rather large for just playing in the finals for that. So top prize in the South American Finals gets 20,000 USD. And then if you actually make it into the main event, if you're one of the top teams, which it's likely you're going to be, it's an $800,000 prize pool for top place. So you can understand it. At the same time, it's sort of like, I think if it was any other South American team, they'd probably still be playing in the qualifiers, because SG does have some qualifier points, I think. No, wait, no, they don't.
No one from South America does.
That's true.
South America and NA are in last place as far as I know.
Yeah, the SG just went to it. But Infamous are the team that replaced them for the Star Ladder one after playing a best of best of 3 against Sacred earlier.
Yeah, and so I remember last year, like Cloud9, which was it has now been split apart, and the team individuals have gone to different teams, with notably Ace on Secret now. But last year they had gotten second place at WESG, and like they were some of the highest earning players of the entire year as a result of that massive prize pool. And TNC, I believe, got first place at that tournament. And so yeah, WSG, I can definitely see that some teams are considering the importance of. And for this one, though, it doesn't seem to be conflicting with anything else. And so I actually don't know why Sacred aren't in this qualifier, if you may know that.
I don't have any extra info about it, but it is a little bit odd. And I guess the one other thing that I wanted to mention, I don't know why Sacred aren't in this one, is that there was also Team Kingwin who qualified for the Star Ladder event. There was a post that Alicia put out that was basically like calling out SG and saying like they just want the easy money. They don't want to play against the best competition. It's a very like shallow way to think about it. Because if you think about Team Kingwin, they would be like the perfect team to go and do WESG because they're a tier like 1.5, I would say, or close to it. They're getting up there, and they're all Polish. Like it's easy, but they didn't end up doing it. Anyways, that's I think the last thing that we need to say about it. Let's get into the draft. Tell me what you're seeing here, man. It's craziness.
I see first pick Pudge, as you briefly mentioned, and again, I'm chalking it up to the fact that these teams are probably very familiar with each other, and they probably have their own little mini meta developed between the entire South American scene and whatnot. And so, first pick Pudge is not something that you would commonly see, but it's highly likely that if Infamous are familiar with SG's roster, then Pudge would not have made it to the second phase, so they're like, whatever, let's just lead with it. And I don't know who is who because they're not ticketed. This game isn't ticketed.
Yep.
And so you and I are going to have a hell of a time naming each of these players, but
yeah.
I imagine that SG has a Pudge player. I haven't seen too much of them recently, but you don't first pick face it unless if you absolutely have confidence in the hero.
Yep. By the way, because of that, you guys can see right now, I'm switching over the labels. It's not that it's not ticketed. That's the thing that's weird about this. It was the same problems yesterday because we are technically on a ticket, from what I've been able to tell.
Really?
I think that there's just some other issue that's going on with tickets right now, maybe because if I watched back through the games and like the pro circuit stuff, you can actually see that these games are being played, if I'm not mistaken. That is the unpausing going on right now. As you can see in the chat, there was some issues going, but it's an interesting way to get yourself a little bit more reserve time. I'm sure that's not what it was. It probably just had a little bit of connectivity issues. And that's actually another thing to mention. SG yesterday were having some issues, and they're actually drafting with Laposa right now because I don't know why they're actually drafting with Laposa. That's another weird one.
Team pick.
Who's their typical drafter? I mean, like their roster, from what I see, is Costabile is their one position.
It's Bardinho usually, which is El Justicario, and he was the one that was kept on dropping out yesterday, and actually had to play with Kat, their coach, for one of them because there's so many issues. So that must be.
Oh yeah, I did hear about that. Okay, yeah, I would imagine because the captain handover process is not even like in like battle pass games and stuff like that. It's not very clean. So I'm sure they probably just like put the crown on Laposa, but I'm sure that they're all in the voice chat, and El Justicario, or however you pronounce it, is probably captaining still.
For sure.
Either that or Laposa was just like, oh boy, it's my chance. I'm going to pick Pudge.
We're doing it. It's happening. If this is offlane Pudge, we know. It's a grand conspiracy. But that is probably not what it's going to be. There's a Darkseer, which, by the way, I want to see a Pudge Surge just running at people with an Ion Shell on him. That sounds great.
Especially with that whole... I haven't seen it very much recently, but there's I wouldn't call it an exploit, but... So you know how you can hook runes now, and you get your mana back?
Right.
Apparently, if you use a Soul Ring, and then you hook, then technically Soul Ring mana is supposed to be temporary, but since hooking the rune refunds the entire mana cost, you can Soul Ring, and then hook a rune, and then keep that Soul Ring mana. Or I guess keep the hook mana from the Soul Ring, so something cute that I had noticed recently.
Wait, I don't understand. So you
so Soul Ring gives you 150 mana, right? But
yeah.
only during the duration of the buff. Once the buff times out, you lose that 150 mana.
So you can get like infinite mana on Pudge?
Well, you can regain your mana. And so like for every hook of a rune, you'll get that mana back.
Oh,
and even though your Soul Ring buff is gone, you'll get to keep that mana.
Got it. That makes sense. Okay.
Yeah.
That's an interesting little thing. I thought you meant that like you get to keep your max mana pool higher. And I was like,
man,
that sounds broken.
Sweet. That would be some Keeper of the Light shenanigans. That would be amazing.
Definitely. But yeah, it's an interesting one. Lycan also taken. They ran this yesterday. SG to great effect. Early Necro book for the Lycan in that game, and I think that we saw it was Lauren Malavo get a like an ultra, or I think he got a rampage at like the 14-minute marks or something, cost a bile. So I don't know. We'll see where they end up going with it if it's solid again.
I don't know. My mind is still in the captain's draft meta, and so like I keep looking for a hero pool on the left side, but I forget that everything is available.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. That was definitely a fun one. I was sad to have to leave it, but at the same time, gotta love some South American Dota. There were like 20 billion kills in like 7 minutes yesterday. They're just like kept running each other over and over and over again. It was great to watch.
People still give the crown to CIS for that type of game, but every single time I take a look at South America, it's raw. It's very raw, the kind of Dota that you see in this region.
Definitely. I think that's a good description, because there's also like, I remember when I was hanging out with some of the SG esports guys, I was talking to them about it, and they were saying that like they really take some of their inspiration from Wings, where they just play whatever they feel like is really solid, and then they play constantly as well. And so what you see then is like all of this just, you know, incredibly talented play, because they play 1,010,000,000 pubs and they play together, but they also play all these different styles of things. Like we have a first pick Pudge, for goodness sake, and it's not captain's draft. Like it's just, this is what they want to do. It's cool.
They did make it a little more reasonable as time progressed. As you said, the Lycan, Shadow Shaman, you have fantastic push right now, and Infamous don't really have the best anti-push. They picked up a Bloodseeker as their 4th pick, which with the Sacred Rite, it's pretty good AoE clearing ability, but the thing with Shadow Shaman and Lycan is that they don't really need the presence of creeps so much, and so like even if you're able to draw aggro off creeps, Lycan's still gonna have his wolves, Shaman's still gonna have his wards, and so you need some way to be able to, I guess, go into a fight as opposed to just drawing aggro off. And Bloodseeker, as it is a reasonably good counter to Lycan. If you rupture him, obviously, Lycan is not really going to be able to take advantage of that max move speed inside the shapeshift form, because otherwise he's just going to be bleeding out even faster. So it's one good way to deal with the Lycan, and Surge as well. So I can see the value of picking a Bloodseeker. And plus, Pudge is a hero that oftentimes isn't at max HP. In fact, it's very rarely at max HP, thanks to the way that Rot works. And so it's a free way to build up thirst stacks. And if you have a space creating, what I'm assuming is probably going to be a safe lane Bloodseeker, as Medusa is going to be the mid pick, then Bloodseeker's definitely going to be able to buy time for a Medusa and hopefully stave off the push that SG Esports have built up.
This is definitely reminiscent of the games that we saw yesterday. It was a safe lane Bloodseeker against a Darkseer, and then it was a Kunkka Shadow Demon then that roamed around and made stuff happen, because you can kind of deal with the Darkseer solo. And then this time it's going to be Witch Doctor Tusk, which probably get more done around the map. And then it was also the Lycan with the wolves. The big difference here is that it looks like it's going to be an Arc Warden. So I think that this is actually going to be a mid Arc Warden played by Costabaus. They're switching it up a little bit because he's the Arc Warden player. And now you've just got so much, like, you push out waves with Darkseer, and you can either rat with Lycan or Arc Warden. This is disgusting.
Seems excessively greedy, though. Arc Warden is a hero that, for me, it's a fantastic pub stomper, and it actually did have brief success in one of the Captain's Draft games, which is OG loves this hero, and they are adamant that it's going to be able to work. But in TI, it didn't really seem too successful whenever Cloud9 were picking it with Envy, and OG are always very hit or miss. Every single time I see the Arc Warden win on OG, I'm always just like, you could have probably picked any carry, and it would have won. And so I am still not sold on the hero. If it manages to be a good lane deterrent against Medusa, I would say that that's one perk, because many people have been struggling against Medusa. Medusa has been pretty much like an auto-win hero, especially as we saw at the Summit. Medusa had just like an amazing win rate. And so maybe it's a way to deal with it, because I don't think Arc Warden was necessary for SG's strategy of pushing. I think you could have picked a variety of heroes, and if anything, Arc Warden is erring a little bit too much on the side of late game, which is Medusa's, you know, that's where she operates best. So we'll see. Maybe they have some way to deal with Medusa specifically, or deal with some kind of dual mid strategy.
Yeah, I think that we're probably going to be seeing that Tuscan Witch Doctor rotate around a lot, because Darkseer, I don't know, we'll see where they end up sending everybody, but I was correct. It is going to be some issues with the hero portraits, or the team portraits. So I've got those up for all you fine viewers on stream.
Man, you even got the placement perfectly. I'm impressed. This is not your first rodeo.
I know, we're doing it. It's actually a little bit off on this one. We're just going to move it a
is.
smidgen.
But
Oh,
I
there it
gave
is.
you. There we go.
Oh, maybe not. Nope, it's a little bit more. We're going to be perfect right there. But yeah, I guess the other thing that I'm kind of curious about is if they do manage to get through, like, do you think that Infamous have a lineup that can punish that greed? Is this a lineup that can take advantage of it? Because Medusa doesn't feel like the fastest hero in the world either.
No, but whenever you pick that Arc Warden, then your early to mid game presence becomes that much weaker. And so
Okay.
if you are planning on, like, you said that Darkseer is going to be difficult to zone out, and I agree. That means that Witch Doctor and Tusk, as you suspected, are going to have, bigger fish to fry, which means that how useful is your Pudge going to be? Is he going to be dictating where these side lane ganks are going to be happening, or is he going to have to, like, show up to wherever Witch Doctor and Tusk are? Because if he has to react to Witch Doctor and Tusk, then already your one early game roamer, which is Pudge, is that much worse. And then if you have to keep visiting your mid lane over and over again, then Shaman's not going to get his levels, and he's going to fall behind also. And so it just makes it more complicated. I agree that, whenever you have a Medusa, obviously she's not the best at being able to turn on early aggression, but the other 4 heroes of Infamous are exceptional at early game aggression.
Okay. Well, I can't wait to see how it all works out. Certainly a lot on the line for these two teams. Also mentioning, just because, you have a little bit of fun, it's the South American Classic, well and truly, because it's the Peru versus Brazil, which is the other little thing. And I'm not sure which server this one was hosted on, if it was US East or if it was Peru or what, but I know that, Division 3 or whatever, the Doom is going to walk back. He doesn't know that they're there, but there are a lot of other heroes in the area, and
yeah, his smoke popped, so he knows something's up.
Oh, Iron Shell onto one. This is a lot of heroes here, though. He might be able to cut off the Shadow Shaman, actually, as they throw down one of the Spark Wraiths as well. There's going to be the Shackles trying to turn it back around, but they already get the stun. That's going to be first blood going to the Doom. And, well, also able to catch Costabile. He's in a ton of trouble. The shards are there, but I don't know if they have enough to actually run him down. Looks like the answer is no, that you get out that Snake, and, well, Pudge is also going to go down. So 2 kills early for Infamous.
It's raw Dota.
Yeah.
Pure raw. Thankfully, Witch Doctor was holding off on his paralyzing cask before the shackles came out, and so Shadow Shaman got the shackles off, and if he was able to get the full channel on the shackles, then almost certainly they were going to get the first blood off of Infamous, but instead Le Petit Prince was able to cancel the shackles, and things just started falling apart. Thankfully, Arc Warden does not die, but he has to walk all the way back to base, get the regen, and El Justiciero is blocking for him, so he's not going to miss any experience on the mid lane, as Arc Warden will just TP back. And it's actually going to be Bloodseeker mid, as opposed to the Dusa.
Interesting. So they want to switch that up. I guess that they're worried about potentially... I mean, Arc Warden can put on a lot of pressure if it's a 1v1.
Right, which is why I was saying that maybe they picked the Arc Warden to be a Dusa lane counter, and if so, I haven't actually seen that matchup. I just suspected it because Flux is very irritating for a hero like Medusa with high range, and so it's a good strategy to bypass that lane. And now Lepost is getting a little low, but he's going to be fine. And a lot of thirst stacks for this Bloodseeker right off the bat, though.
He's hitting pretty hard, but again, the big daddy in all of this, it's the Shadow Shaman. He's really hard to deal with. I mean, you look at it, even when he had all those thirst stacks, he was still hitting for about the same amount that the Shadow Shaman was.
It's better him than Dusa, though. If Dusa was able to get zoned out this hard, then, like, Bloodseeker's job is to be the little buffer zone before Dusa hits late game. And so, if Dot, period, the pink character, whatever, if he's having a bad game, it's not that big of a deal. It's just how much advantage will this Arc Warden be able to take of it.
Interesting battles going on down bottom as well. Doom pulls the creep wave all the way back, and he's going to be at his tower now. But out of health, he needs to buy his tangos and fly those out to him. Might have been a little bit earlier that he could have done it, but regardless, this will be a double wave coming towards him. They get a single pull off on one of the creeps, but this is still going to push into his tower, I think, with the 2 ranged.
Yeah, a lot of people are very irritated at the way that, because there's this whole dual mid situation. Oh,
Yep, some trouble
Shorts.
here. Shadow Shaman does have the shackles, trying to get something of a turnaround here, but does look to be going down.
Yeah, a lot of carry players specifically are very irritated with how offlaners can just like walk in at minute 0 or even as you see here at like a minute 30 and just steal the creep wave away because there's so much tension on the mid lane that, you know, who's going to punish you for walking that massively out of position?
I'm trying to sort out, there's a little bit of lag going on, so I'm going to try and shut down a few things and see if I can fix it.
Yeah, you were kind of clipping in and out of Discord. I figured something may have been up.
Looks like that might have solved it. As Laposa, I'm going to be able to just force back the Tusk again. Early laning, you take a look across all the different lanes, and it's mainly just a story of this Bloodseeker being completely zoned out. He's 7 CS right now, and well, you just keep on dominating him. Flux there as well. He might be in trouble underneath the tower. They've got creeps there to take him low, and had to drop down the tree to keep himself alive. And he's not getting the CS with that either, so he will pop his salve finally, but this is a lot of pressure being put on him by the Arc Warden.
It's a creative way to survive. He didn't have any tangos left to eat that tree, unfortunately, but that split moment of fog may have saved him as now a snowball in the mid lane.
Trying to turn it back around. Level 4 on this Arc Warden, though, very tanky, and the hook pulls him back in for safety. But
Maledict.
he skate away from the experience range at least, so I don't even know if the Bloodseeker got any of that. It looks like it was only the Witch Doctor.
Yeah, but again, he's if Bloodseeker doesn't have a good game, it's passable. It was smart play to put the Blood Rage directly onto the Arc Warden. He knew that he's not dealing really any damage right now as a Bloodseeker, so might as well just put it on the Arc Warden, amp up whatever damage he's taking, and that way the Maledict will tick even harder whenever it finally
Shackles?
lands.
Howl? Oh, there's a chance that they could have killed that Doom right there. I think Shadow Shaman gets 2 more hits, but worried about going down, and so they're just going to back out. And it does force Doom away to head back towards the shrine here and maybe eat up a creep on the way. Mid lane. There are a little bit of counter ganks going on. They get the Maledict there onto the Arc Warden, but with Tusk hanging out in the area, Pudge hanging out in the area, they are going to be able to find one. The hook connects as well. Silenced as well. He's not going to be able to take off this rot, so he goes down. But they do kill off the Witch Doctor. Maledict done now. As we should see the Tusk die on the other side of it. Can they make this work? Trying to bring him down. It's too much damage with the Blood Right. The Bloodseeker heals up enough to stay alive.
Again, wise choice to put the Blood Rage onto the Arc Warden. This time Maledict wasn't really doing that much damage, but again, whenever whoever gets the kill on a Blood Rage target will heal, and he was taking more damage than he could deal. These dual mid ganks are working out because Le Petit Prince was fluxed briefly, but you know, whenever you have 2 heroes around, flux is basically irrelevant, and so they were able to retreat. Pudge had to commit a little bit harder to make sure that the Witch Doctor finally died, and Bloodseeker recognizing that he has so much thirst stacks, he's maxing out thirst, and it's working out very well as they're heading down to this bot lane. He doesn't have Rupture yet, but they do have a Snowball.
Yeah, that's going to make it work. They don't have level 6 either, trying to turn it back around, but the Maledict's already there. Coconut's bouncing, Stomp connects. That's a dead Lycan, and that is also a dead Shadow Shaman. So a flurry of activity in Infamous, taking control of this early game.
Man, what a great cask. No creep wave. All these heroes are like they're benefiting from the fact that even though this Bloodseeker's not getting very much farm, he's rotating around, and the entire time Medusa is just untouched.
Yeah. Well, and we talked about like the laning situation was looking good, but as soon as that roaming starts to happen, it's a completely different story. Oh, nice play there with the Pudge, recognizing the last hit was coming, and that should be a kill onto that Bloodseeker. No, Snowball save. I think he's still dead though. Right click comes through, that's 1 down, and now the turnaround, they get the shackles as well. Caught onto that Tusk, flushed it up. They have another one here for the Witch Doctor. They will in 1 second, and should be able to catch him with the Purge coming through. Hex is there.
Well, he spends the mana
There's the Flux.
on the Hex.
And yeah, they still get him. Well played.
Good reaction. Keeping the Arc Warden alive. Although, again, as I say, Medusa remains untouched, 49 and 14. Now 51 and 14, has an amazing start right now. And Darkseer is a hero that, you know, normally in a 1v1 situation, especially against a squishy hero like Medusa, as a Snowball comes in on the bottom lane and he's
super dead. Oh. They might be able to find a turnaround kill though. Didn't want to shackles, I guess, as we also see another kill mid. So they take down the Bloodseeker with the haste turret on Pudge and the first Arc Warden. Oh, God, I'm dying.
It's okay. This stuff makes me sick also. Strategy, as now a wall is placed on the bot lane, position 3 or whatever. He's going to be able to get out, and that wall does not slow him for very long. El Justiciero is completely out of mana, and that Darkseer rotation actually yields nothing.
I am become death.
Okay.
But we're
Destroyer
back
of
again.
casts.
Destroyer of casts, exactly. Like an ulti, Lux down onto 1. She's gonna hold hands with the Witch Doctor, but they decide to turn onto the Witch Doctor now. Maledict did not connect, though. That might have been the death of him, and now turning to fight, seeing if they can take him down. They're still ruptured here for the moment, though. A little bit of extra duration, and they are going to be able to get that kill. Pudge tried to save his life by pulling the Bloodseeker to the side, but no such luck. Not what you want.
No, Lycan's rotations are not working out. Darkseer's rotations are not working out. These heroes are trying to get active early on because that's, you know, I actually don't think that they need to, because like I said, the late game seems that much better as now. Oh, never mind. The post is just running back to base. The late game is so much better for Radiant that it doesn't seem necessary to go for these heavy rotations. One hero needs to be just focused on farming, and it can't be Arc Warden because everyone's constantly mid, as now we're seeing yet again another move on the Bloodseeker.
Yeah, and if they can get that kill, they will be able to. No mana for the hook the second time through, but they do have the shackles. And bringing in that spark right yet again as well as a bit more right clicks. That Witch Doctor's just going to scuttle away. But yeah, you talk about it. 77 last hits right now at 8.5 minutes for Medusa. This is insane. She is just farming up everything.
The one, I guess, the one thing that's okay about this is the fact that since these supports on Infamous are so busy, no one's been stacking Ancients for her. But again, that's not really that big of a concern. Like, if you are being this untouched in lane, like you see her stacking her own hard camp, she's alternating back and forth between the lane, it's not really that big of a deal. So, why do they all have so French names? Is this something that I don't know?
No, I don't think so.
Okay,
I'm just going to call them by their hero names for the rest of the cast. So.
Okay, fine.
By the way, would you be willing to keep an eye on Twitch chat for me, just in case there's any production mishaps, because I need to keep it closed for lack of lag.
Wow, that's how bad it is? What are you on, like a 56K connection or something?
I don't know.
Like that?
It's not great. NA internet. It's just we got that net neutrality, man.
It's true.
But just let me know if anything egregious pops up. But
I can do that.
So we do have at least a couple of stacks being formed now. Witch Doctor is actually opting to take out the 2 medium camps, interestingly enough. I don't know if that's necessarily the play, but maybe worried about stacking Ancients? Whatever the case is, they're mooting up top. Now have the Medusa caught, low on mana. Ran at, they have the hook to follow, and that's a kill.
Dire's middle tower is under attack.
I think the idea is that a Medusa will be able to take these medium camps much quicker than she can Ancients. If you stack Ancients too much, then even Medusa kind of struggles, even with the Mystic Snake. And there's a deep Observer Ward place that this Pudge is looking for a hook on the Witch Doctor. Witch Doctor is not. Oh wow, what a predictive.
Oh my god, but they got him nonetheless.
Yeah.
Nice catch here. Wants to get the D ward first. We'll be able to get it, so a little bit of gold going his way and experience. But it's going to be tower trade time as bottom tier 1 assaulted as well as top tier 1 assaulted.
They could defend us if they want. Medusa wasn't able to stone gaze because she was, you know, completely burned off after the attempted gank, but it looks like they're going to leave it, and yeah, as you suspected, straight up trade.
We do have the rotation in from Doom here mid lane, where Pudge going to be able to find another hook, doing it every time. And that is another big one for them, with Arc Warden having Midas already done and now getting towards that first Maelstrom.
Dire's top tower has fallen.
Wards were used on the top lane, so initially you'd think that chances are that SG don't want to play too aggressive, but Pudge is landing some exceptional hooks and able to pick off Doom. Doom has not done anything with his ultimate yet. He has been 6 for a while, he's almost level 8 actually, but he's, I guess, sticking around trying to get some. Oh, they catch up the Shadow Shaman.
Yeah, he's not long for this world, but did already buy his Arcane, so it sort of happens. It's still good movement by Infamous, and the nice part, like you've been talking about constantly, is that this Medusa is farming. I'm getting concerned about the Arc Warden, though. 5-2-2 with a lot of last hits and Midas working.
Yeah, it's ideal for Bloodseeker to start going with the Doom and making life difficult for the Arc Warden, because as long as they're taking towers at like an even rate, like normally with a Lycan and a Shadow Shaman, you shouldn't be even on towers with the enemy team. But right now, Infamous are doing a good job of keeping all the lanes pushed and, again, drawing aggression from like every single lane that Shadow Shaman constantly has to react. Lycan is showing up to all these ganks, and Pudge is just not really able to find that much by himself, as now they're smoked up, and they should be able to get a kill on Tusk, but they don't really want Tusk, but whatever, he'll take what he can get.
It works. They also have, what, 15 seconds until wards, so timed very well. They can probably take this tower without it and push for the tier 2 if they want as well. Although the glyph comes out, maybe they just opt to drop him right now since Medusa is showing up to this. Looks like they're thinking about battling.
Yeah,
Bloodseeker has TP. Yep. But with wards dropped, I would be surprised if they maybe go further.
They're reacting alright.
Wildwing Ripper, calls to Bile caught. They do have another one of the Witch Doctor ultimates. The hook to pull him back away though. That keeps him alive, and now the TP. They hex it that way, they can't get him down, but the Doom is already there. He is going to fall here to this. Gets denied by the neutrals. Somehow it ends up working as they're trying to kill off the Witch Doctor, the Shadow Shaman. It doesn't happen.
That's incredibly fortuitous. At the end of the day, it's still an Arc Warden dying, and Arc Warden dying, especially because both of his Midases are off cooldown, is a damn shame, but he didn't give up. I mean, he's what? Yeah, he's the most farmed hero on Radiant right now, and so, yeah, that getting denied is, you've got to be pretty pissed if you're Infamous, but at least he died in the end.
Well, and it's still Medusa that's incredibly farmed here as well. She decides not to walk through the wall, which is probably the correct decision. But she has her Hurricane Pike on the way pretty shortly as well, as they are going to be able to go mid, find themselves the Bloodseeker as he starts to fall. They have the Snowball, though, trying to save, trying to hook, not going to be there. Wolf still chasing, but they aren't going to be able to find that kill as of yet. Instead, they turn their sights onto the Doom. Can they kill him off? Answer is yes. Can they get any more, though? Trying to take down that Tusk. Flesh Heap stacks really starting to build up here, but with the Stone Gaze coming in and the Bloodseeker running after them, they're going to find a double kill there, and possibly more. Shadow Shaman trying to heal back up, does have another Shackles and Hex, but was never going to be a thing.
And a triple kill going the way of Bloodseeker. He just barely survives. The Tusk wisely snowballs onto a Wolf, so that whenever they did get banished inside the snowball, they don't end up running all the way back into the enemy heroes. Instead, he ran into a Wolf. Bloodseeker just sprinted out because he had so much thirst and stood on the vicinity of the fight. He was able to rupture up the Lycan, and so Lycan was just standing there. He's like, I really don't want to have to deal with this cask. I really don't want to have to deal with this Stone Gaze. And now Pudge is going to deal with this Witch Doctor.
Yeah, no way to stop this either, but it does come in the service of Medusa at least getting herself the tower. Now you do have stick charges here, and this should be another kill actually. Able to run him down very quickly and gets the deny even as Leposa takes down the Medusa.
Medusa was waiting for that split moment where she was like, okay, now I'll attack you, but he was preemptively rotting. Did not want to get close to that. And this Pudge is doing a hell of a lot. I can see why they picked it first phase.
This is insane.
Even though it's not like your typical just sniping Pudge, you see how much he's participating with his team and how much benefit, and how scared that Infamous have to play as a result. Like, Medusa normally would not have to feel worried at all about taking a tier 1 tower. You know, your Witch Doctor dies, that's just collateral, but when you've got to deal with Flux slowing you down, these Spark Rates slowing you down, and what is evidently a very competent Pudge getting these hooks, there's very little safe spots on the map.
Well, and I think part of it is this Darkseer helping to enable the Pudge as well. You know, you got this hero that just surges him up, and then you don't necessarily have to always hit the hook. You can just hit it from point-blank range. So all of this sort of things working together in concert. I will say it's also just been a crazy little battle back and forth. It feels like there's constantly just aggression going on. 15-17 at 16 minutes.
Yeah, you told me. 32 kills. This is definitely... It's raw. It's straight from the heart. It's passionate.
Absolutely. The one thing that is still a little bit lacking, and you talked about it earlier, is the Doom's presence. We haven't seen that great Doom yet. The one that they ended up leveling out was on the Dark Warden, and he got denied nonetheless.
Yeah, and that was actually just to stop a TP. It wasn't even like an initiation thing. And so I don't really know why... Like, if you pick the Doom, then... you know, you pick him for the ultimate. And in terms of lane presence, Doom wasn't that intimidating. And he's going for a Solar Crest right now. I feel like, again, the Doom itself is more valuable, so something like a Silver Edge or Shadowblade or Blink Dagger, any of those spells may be a little bit more items may be a little bit more valuable. Sure, it's not the cast animation that it used to be, and so you may get hexed by a Shadow Shaman, but I don't know. I don't know how much benefit this Solar Crest is really going to give this Doom.
It feels like they're really putting all their eggs in the Medusa basket, and the thing that's scary about that, of course, is as Medusa gets stronger, Darkseer wall is also going to get stronger. You've got a lot of single target damage too, so it's definitely going to be tough. We do also have a Bloodseeker in this game that's been able to have a decent time for himself so far. A little bit of a different build going for the BKB so early. Do you like it at all?
I think it's a reaction to the Arc Warden. This makes him a stronger solo ganker, because otherwise Arc Warden has... Oh, actually, he just bought his BOTs. But Arc Warden BOT can very quickly react to a Bloodseeker gank, and Flux is all you need to make this Bloodseeker useless. And so the BKB, I wouldn't be surprised if we see it at 5 seconds very quickly, as he does not want to deal with this Hex. He's like, whatever, I'll get this kill if you really want me to spend it. But again, I don't think he cares about that. It's going to be a very quick 5-second BKB.
All right, that was actually really good too. You saw another instance of Surge and Ion Shell onto a hero just to go for the initiation. It's like you can be aggressive earlier than you would have been able to. And also, got a Helm of the Dominator with a Siege Creep here. Not bad at all.
Now we'll see what item at which point Medusa will feel confident going, because I've said at the beginning of the draft they don't have this late, and so it's possible that once she completes Scotty that they'll just stick together as 5, because the team fight of SG Esports isn't that great. Arc Warden works best in pick-off scenarios, Lycan works best in pick-off scenarios as the hook misses on Medusa up top, which is unfortunate, but I doubt a solo Pudge would have been able to get the kill anyway.
Yeah, and they're actually just going to end up rotating in a couple other heroes. That might have even just been to try and draw the attention, as Pudge does TP out before anybody can rotate. Still, lanes are being pushed bottom as well as mid. But maybe a smoke up now and seeing if they can do something. It was right by a ward. That might have been spouted.
The one thing that a Solar Crest may do is it allows Infamous to take Roche. Right. Although they don't even wait for the full Solar Crest, they're just going to go in with Medallion. Right now, looks like SG are smoked up, but they don't suspect anything, as this Wolf is going to scout it out, though. Yeah. And now they know.
Can they get there in time? They're moving in with the Arc Warden. They want to try and start setting out the Spark Wraith. There's a Flux as well. They pull out the Justa. That's a decent way to start it, but can they actually burn it out in time? I don't think so. Cardi, 1 kill down as the Witch Doctor is gone. BKB out from this Bloodseeker. He's trying to take down the Arc Warden, but he heals back up. The Bloodwright is going to heal him up to full as well. He's going to do so much damage here. Triple kill coming through. Actually, excuse me, it was the Lycan that took it. Medusa just trying to run, but this has been an ultimate win for SG.
So putting the Blood Rage on the Arc Warden was great in the laning phase when Arc Warden doesn't deal any damage. Arc Warden is pretty much just running away and casting Flux at that stage of the game. Right now, the dude has Maelstrom, and if you put, it's maxed out Blood Rage, and so not only are his right clicks doing better, but all the lightning is doing better. As now Shackles up onto the Medusa, she's completely out of mana, fluxed up 2 times over. Monster kill streak.
They're making it happen. This is a scary time right now for Infamous. I think the one thing to keep in mind too is later on, I do think this is going to be one of the most buff Medusas that we've got. You got healing from the Witch Doctor. You've got Blood Rage that we've talked about that can be thrown on her. But I don't know if it's going to come online quickly enough. She's even with the Arc Warden now.
And even if it does, there are too many heroes for Radiant to throw at the Medusa, because in that previous fight, Doom ended up opting to Doom up the Darkseer, which is understandable, but Darkseer doesn't have any value items right now. His mechanism's been in the stash for quite a while, actually, and all he is pretty much just a wall robot, and so, yeah, sure, Darkseer wasn't able to get a wall off. Arc Warden was your bigger concern. Right. Now that Darkseer has Greaves up and running, then he can just stand around, and even if he doesn't cast the Greaves aura is still operating. It's now looks like they want to go on Bloodseeker. Nice hook, connects, and that is a dead Bloodseeker.
Well, they're making it happen over and over again. The Wolves' vision, the surges, the hooks, it's all coming up SG right now, and they're in a 5,000 gold lead.
And most likely, the next time they get a pick, they're just gonna mow down the Sun lane. You have to go through a tier 2 on the mid and top lane, but the bot lane is completely naked right now, and so with wards and a level 3 Necro Book, you can just destroy a quick lane of racks after just 1 or 2 picks.
Look at this. Medusa has even the tomes queued up for herself, just wanting to get to that level 20 so badly. Like, we've seen how big and effective that type of a thing can be, where if you're able to get the 800 mana, it's so much effective HP. But
she was really close to Scotty at one point, and then it never got completed. Like, so many times I saw her just farming up the jungle, and Shadow Shaman sees Medusa in the top lane, but the creep wave dies so fast that Arc Warden can't BOT in.
Gonna place down that ward in the lane to make sure he spots it, but, well, a little bit of an invis there. And that is gonna be a kill, but meanwhile, mid lane, they found themselves another hook. It's on this Bloodseeker. Guess what? He's about to run out of his BKB as well. Can they do anything else here? It doesn't look like it. So they lose 2 across the map, and now Medusa, there's a snowball chasing as well. Shards on the wrong side! Oh, that's tragic. And looks like Darkseer should be able... Well, nope, he's doomed.
Does he care? He still hasn't picked up his greaves.
Yeah.
What is with these people?
Get
your items off the courier.
I don't know. Maybe it's getting stolen by his teammates.
Maybe.
This
courier has like 10 items on it. It has like 6k net worth on it.
Yeah, it's like, you know, Arcard's like, I need my Shadow Blade. Come on, guys.
I mean, Arc Warden survived, so I guess that's the biggest plus for SG Esports. If neither of the cores dies, like Darkseer doesn't really care about dying, Pudge doesn't really care about dying. As long as the cores are alive for SG Esports, they're still very comfortable with the way this game is going.
So this was the same build that we saw yesterday as well. The Lycan going for Necro Book level 3 and then into Blade Mail afterwards, followed up by the AC. And you can sometimes see him just like running around, you know, with Ruptured and all that. Now this should be a kill, most likely. Hook trying to run away, but no way to make it happen. Deny.
I can't believe these casts.
Forward. Are you kidding me? He still got the deny, and they get out a good bit of damage onto these heroes. But it still should be a tier 2, and now you're in an awkward position. Losing those 2 supports is not insignificant.
Yeah, Arc Warden is doing his damnedest to push out the top lane. It looks like Medusa's going to react to it, so no high ground quite yet, but I don't really know why Pudge was just like moving forward. It seemed like his camera wasn't even on his hero, because like he was just moving forward and Tusk was like in his face, but he kept on plowing through, and the cast ends up bouncing like the shortest possible number of bounces to end up to Shadow Shaman, so Shadow Shaman goes down as well.
One thing that's definitely annoying, I'm thinking, for this Medusa is the Arc Warden keeps on coming in and taking away at least 1 or sometimes even 2 of her camps, so hasn't been able to farm as much as you might want, but she does have that level 20 talent now. As we see Laposa down bottom. Maybe have an inkling that somebody's there as he's gonna walk right by. Hey, how's it going, buddy? And now Vacuum and the TP rotations pulling him back in. Can actually chase him down though. They could surge up the Pudge, but they're gonna decide to go top instead, where their eyes are on Dusa. Hook pulls her in. No Force Staff to get away. Stone Gaze there, but the Hex is out as well, trying to stay away with the stun, and well, they finally decide to turn on to her and find the kill.
Stone Gaze times out. It's all access pass to killing Dusa. Pudge is doing such a good job this CM.
Ooh,
and
Laposa just canceled his TP.
To where?
Right here. So he canceled it because he wants to try and kill off this Bloodseeker with the Lycan.
It's gonna be challenging with no stuns, but you can try. He has a BKB also.
Block, run, right click, Blade Mail as well. Oh my god.
Wow.
He just
that was a lot of damage.
Oh wait, he didn't even Blade Mail.
And he ruptured the Necro Creep, so it's also a damn shame.
Got it. That's what that was.
Yeah. I mean, when there are like 20 units there, like what are the odds of you being able to select the right one? You just gotta pray.
True enough. Well, Doom, in the meantime, they're TPing onto him, want to find this fella, but he is dodged by Stain still. And mid lane is the next place we go for SG, for 3,000 gold lead.
Well, Doom does have a Blink Dagger now. He ends up not opting to complete the full Solar Crest, which I think is absolutely the right decision, but maybe a little bit too late. I don't even know who your best Doom target is, because pretty much everyone's a concern. The Arc Warden is probably going to be the #1, But if he already has the Tempest double out, it's not really that big of a deal to doom him, because most of his damage is through right clicks now at this stage of the game. You can doom up the Darkseer to prevent Greaves coming out, but again, the aura will still persist. You can doom up the Lycan, but if Shapeshift is already put out and his Necro Creeps are already out, then again, he's not really that great to doom either. So this game is becoming very, very difficult for position 3 or whatever to find a place in.
And you see that this Arc Warden constantly is able to pressure this bottom tier 3 tower, which is now down to 100 HP. And that just happens by virtue of Darkseer pushing waves, and then he TPs in on a wave. Meanwhile, Pudge runs into a couple people. How's it going, folks? Is going to be broken through there, but pulls back in. The Witch Doctor wants to take him down. Not happening. But nonetheless, it is the smoke break, and now with the
Tempest double, wants to finish the job.
He wants to take him down. God, like one hit. And now, well, he is going to be brought down, but he actually just times out. As the Witch Doctor picking his gem back up
is under attack.
as well.
Yeah, unfortunately, Tempest double cannot pick up or drop items, but if they would have been able to get that gem, would have been nice. But Pudge goes down, Witch Doctor goes down, Roche potential to respawn in 8 seconds. If it's early, then it favors SG. If it's later, then it'll favor Infamous, so we'll see who the gods are smiling upon right now.
And survey says, doesn't matter for either of them.
Yeah, Medusa might be in trouble though.
Oh,
this
God.
is nice for her.
This is really, really bad.
Net.
And they have that net as well. Heck, pull her back in. Now they have a Medusa of their own. This could be a pressure for high ground if they wanted to. Backing out altogether now as they're going to snowball off to the side. They do another Hex. There's the Doom that comes down, but isn't on the proper target. Looks like the answer is maybe, but still Arc Warden going to be able to do a lot of damage. But he got stunned. He walked back into that Stone Gaze. 1-for-1 Bloodseeker for the Shadow Shaman.
Core still goes down, and Doom was spent, as you can see, onto the Arc Warden, but it really doesn't matter. The Tempest double was already out. Tempest double was just going to town on Medusa, and Arc Warden still right-clicks very, very hard. So Bloodseeker just walked in. He's made of paper. That BKB is value against the crowd control, but there's so much right-click on the side of SG Esports that it's really not that relevant. And Snowball did end up saving the Medusa, so that's going to help, but Stone Gaze is down, and the Necro Creeps still have a good solid 30-second duration on it. Actually, the melee one may be dead. I don't know what the melee one is, but it's still a high ground push for sure.
Well, and you also have this Arc Warden that's about to have his Tempest double back up in 10 seconds, and this tower is basically gone. I don't know if they can really hold against this, because Medusa still has to get all the way back and heal up again. It looks like this could be a lane of Rax.
I say the Rax goes down, but at least they can't transition mid. There's still a tier 2 in the mid lane for Dire, so just one lane, but it's definitely going to be one lane.
Dire's bottom tower is under attack.
Glyph comes a second too late there. And look at the freaking right clicks from this Arc Warden. He's got the double down now as well, and melee goes down. Do they back up before then? Witch Doctor ultimate as well. It's doing a decent chunk of damage to him, actually. Gonna kill off the Lycan, and well, the Tempest double able to burn through a lot of that mana, but Vacuum, Runaway, Blink Dagger up, Leposa gets out.
Minimal casualties. You only lose the Lycan. You took the melee Rax, but Arc Warden continues to get larger and larger. And he should have had that Bloodthorn finished up fairly soon. Yeah, he's got the Crystallis money already, and then probably like one more minute to finish off the rest of the Bloodthorn recipe. And at that point, like, Arc Warden doesn't even need the rest of his team. And in fact, it's probably in his best interest to not be with the rest of his team, because right now, he takes structure so quickly just by himself. You can see him going for the shrine, and he knows he has absolutely nothing to be concerned about.
So, how would you rate this Arc Warden's performance relative to what you've seen before as Doom just gets dropped by all these people?
Yeah. It's working out well, but again, I think you could have had any... Oh, Walrus Punch in the mid lane. Shadow Shaman getting a little too greedy, and he's gonna go down. There was so much attention for the Arc Warden mid, so for one thing, like, Bloodseeker got shut down, sure, but I don't think that was by virtue of the Arc Warden. I think that was just by virtue of there being a lot of rotations from the Radiant onto the mid lane, and Dire never went aggressive on Arc Warden. They were always just like, our Bloodseeker's dying, we need to save him, and that's why you go to the mid lane. It wasn't like, we gotta kill this Arc Warden. And so, it's doing a great job, sure, but I'm not sold that the hero is like, oh man, you gotta nerf this guy.
No, for sure. Well, and I think that it's in the context of these other things. Like, you've got Lycan with the wolves, so you can just TP onto the wolves with wherever you want, and then like ganks around the area. Look at, my god, the damage.
And it's gonna time out, so no gold.
The next one's going to be even stronger, though, because I believe that Costabile has a Bloodthorn coming out to him on the courier.
One of the things that I did see recently to deal with Arc Warden, though, is Nullifier is actually pretty exceptional. So, like I mentioned, Doom is great because, you know, a lot of his damage comes from items later on.
Right.
Earlier on, his spells are the bigger thing, but Doom mutes both of them. And so, Nullifier, I see a lot of value in against Arc Wardens because, like, if like, all of his net worth is... It's not really like passive net worth, it's active net worth. He needs to cast the Mjolnir, he needs to cast the Bloodthorn, he needs to cast the Shadow Blade. The rest of his spells aren't really that relevant, but Medusa's not really a Nullifier builder, neither. Actually, Bloodseeker's okay, but if you finish off the Relic, you're more often interested in the Radiance as opposed to the full Nullifier, so I don't really know what Infamous can do to deal with this deal with this Arc Warden at this stage.
Yeah, it's tough. There's a lot of issues, and you can see it right there. It does get the Glimmer Cape to stay alive for the moment, but this is just the Tempest Double, and he is causing some issues there. Just feels like, I mean, what the heck do you do with this guy?
Next big fight's going to be at Roche. I'm not sure if either team has verified that it's up yet, but it may have been a long enough time that it's guaranteed to respawn at this point, and Lycan Wolves can obviously scout it at any point, so there's going to be a smoke up. Ideally, Infamous are hoping to take a fight and then immediately transition into Roche. We'll see how successful they'll be.
Bloodseeker doesn't have a TP. He doesn't have any way to deal with this.
That's actually not good. Seems
all
like
right.
a bad fight now.
They're thinking about going on to Pudge. He just blinks away. Oh, no. Oh, God. Run away. Hit the panic button. Get out of there, guys. They try to get the vacuum
They want
back.
to stay for some reason.
This could maybe work. Bloodseeker is actually walking in here. He could play cleanup duty, snowball, so that way they have a little bit more time to draw some ammo, but they are going to already be able to find that Witch Doctor, take him down. Snowgaze's out, but they're running away. And now the Rupture. It's onto the Wolf, but he's dealing so much damage here. He's actually taking too much, though. So they find that kill. Not bad. Tusk over to the side, as well as the poor old Doom, though, are going to be killed off. And now Costabile playing support here for his own support. Another Snowball trying to save his boat.
Solution.
Yeah, this is doing far too much damage, and it was not the fight that they needed. Great catch there, as they're able to pull her out before she gets the Force Staff away. And rough stuff.
Lycan did go down surprisingly fast. I'm assuming he wasn't really expecting to go face first into the Bloodseeker, but Bloodseeker plus Medusa was dealing a little bit too much damage, but Arc Warden on the side was just eliminating these supports one by one. The Doom was shackled up by the Shadow Shaman, the Tusk was trying to stay on the outside of the fight, he wasn't really able to get in to snowball anyone, and this Arc Warden, at this stage I can say that no other hero was able to beat that as well as Arc Warden, nor would you be able to do this, but I think this is more on Pudge. And that's a dieback.
GG is called. 33 minutes in. SG take game number 1, and Tsunami, it didn't necessarily feel like it was always going to be in their favor, but it kind of turned a corner eventually, and that greedy draft worked out, didn't it?
Yeah, and I also don't really know why they went for that last smoke with that Bloodseeker. At what, 34 minutes into the game, 33 I guess when that smoke happened, that's not a point at which you can do 4-man smokes and just like blindly go into the enemy team. If they had like detection, or if they were able to see like just the Lycan or just the Arc Warden farming by themselves, then you can go for it. But they were wanting a team fight. They saw the Pudge and they're like, okay, we got out, but let's just take the fight anyway. And that seemed short-sighted. I think they were kind of resigned to already losing the game, and it was like a Hail Mary play, but it was unnecessary, and yeah, the greedy draft of SG definitely did work out.
All right, well, that's going to do it for game number 1, ladies and gents. Hope that you guys enjoyed SG versus Infamous game number 2 right around the corner. Be sure to give us a follow if you feel so inclined, at Lyrical Donut on Twitter, at Tsunami643 on Twitter, of course, at Beyond the Summit, and at GESC Championships. Or championship rather, for that tournament as well. But yeah, we'll be back in a few, everybody. See you guys then.